Today we're joined by Bryan Stern, the founder of Project Dynamo.
For the last 2 years, Project Dynamo has helped rescue Americans and allies around the world.
Project Dynamo is a donor-funded, veteran-led international rescue organization. We go to crazy places that are war zones or about to be war zones.
The State Department's not helping you come in.
Yeah, the State Department ran away.
We know what's going on in Israel and in Gaza. Are you at all in touch with them?
Are we working in Gaza?
Welcome to our first BATTARIX POWERCAST, where we feature powerful stories from the front lines of life. I'm Sam Wexler, your host, founder of BATTARIX, world's smallest smartphone backup battery. Today, we're joined by Bryan Stern, the founder of Project Dynamo. And Bryan, how are you?
Good to see you, Sam.
Good to see you again, Bryan. Always good to see you. You always bring that energy. You know, we met a few months ago. We were introduced by, Heather Hackett with her great app that she's got. And since then we've been in communication. We've helped each other out a little bit in Israel and so on. We've got you some BATTARIX. And maybe you can tell my audience, how you got started with Project Dynamo, what the mission is, who you serve, and what you do day to day.
Sure. Project Dynamo is a donor-funded, veteran-led international rescue organization. The best way to think about us is we work where the U.S. government is not. So we go to crazy places that are either war zones or about to be war zones or recently war zones, and also natural disasters like Hurricane Ian or the fires in Maui. And we rescue people. Our focus is Americans, but the reality is we've rescued people from over 20 nationalities, almost 30 nationalities. We started during the failed withdrawal of Afghanistan, where the United States left Afghanistan kind of in a rush and left behind thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people, not just Afghans who had helped us, our allies, but also American citizens. We forward deployed, went to the region, went to Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan, and started conducting operations in August 2021. Before the military left, the U.S. military and NATO left August 30th, and we continue to do operations there still to this day, over 2 years later. From there, we expanded into Ukraine. From there, we expanded into Russia. From there, we expanded into Hurricane Ian, which is our first natural disaster. Then we did Sudan, then the fires in Maui, and then, of course, Israel, and now Gaza, and we're getting ready for China and Taiwan.
Wow,
and it turns into over 600 missions, which is about 7,000 people. And we've done everything from rescue babies, American babies who were in the ICU during the opening days of the war in Ukraine, to breaking Americans out of jail from Russia on more than one occasion.
Wow, that's fascinating. So you woke up one morning, turned on the news, and said, "There's people in Afghanistan. We got to get there and get them out." I mean, how does you have a military background, obviously, but how do you just wake up, get organized, and get over to Afghanistan? I mean,
I was a 9/11 first responder, and I was working on my speech for the 20th anniversary of 9/11 in August 2021, and been to Afghanistan a lot. My last good gunfight in Afghanistan, I was actually being shot at by the Americans. So when we say we don't leave our people behind in the military, we actually mean it. That's not a nice thing that you say, like, how you doing? How's everything going? When we say we don't leave our people behind, we actually mean it. So witnessing that we weren't doing that rubbed me the wrong way. And then one day there was breaking news, and I was working on my speech for the museum for the 20th anniversary, which is just a few weeks later. And there was a military plane called a C-17, and there were Afghans falling from the plane. The last time I saw that was on the morning of 9/11, when people were jumping on top of me. So I'd never seen anything like that before, and never seen anything like that since. So it occurred to me, it opened up a wound while I'm working on my speech for 9/11. Almost 20 years later to the day, people are jumping to their deaths as a result of the same people. And I've buried over 70 friends in Afghanistan. So what did they die for? And the Afghan allies that we left to be butchered by the Taliban What are they dying for? What does that say about our word as a country and as a soldier, that I give my word to these folks that don't worry, we'll take care of you, and then they all we welch on that deal. So I was gonna write a check or help out or whatever. Then I saw that on TV, and I said, I've had enough. I got my crew together. We packed our stuff and we launched. Well, we launched in August as it was all happening, and started conducting land operations out of northern Afghanistan, and then soon thereafter conducted air operations after the Taliban took control. So we got the first landing clearance of the Taliban ever.
So who do you even call to get clearance? I mean, at a time of war like that, when it's chaos, I mean, you just obviously the State Department's not helping you come in. But who do you have people on the ground who can help you get in?
Yeah, the State Department ran away. So they were long gone, and the military ran away. They were long gone. So that leaves people on the ground. So once Secretary of State Tony Blinken and Secretary of Defense General Austin, they got on TV and they said it was middle of August, and they said the last U.S. troops will be leaving Afghanistan August 30th. When I heard that, it wasn't about up until that moment, it was get people to the airport, right? There are military planes, there's a Marine at the gate, and there's a family, an ally outside with his family and stuff. It was get that person to that Marine to get them on the plane. Once they announced that the Marines would be leaving and that the planes would be leaving, I recognize that's going to change everything, because there won't be any way to do it. And that's what a lot of the other veteran groups were really focused on was that. Once the military left, all these veteran groups that were rescuing people and doing all these things, who were basically coordinating stuff, which is great, they very quickly dissolved, because frankly, it's easy to connect an interpreter that with a Marine corporal, vouch for somebody and get them on a plane. It's actually not that hard once you kind of get the hang of it. Basically a dispatcher at that point. Where our approach was very different. We were on the ground. We were boots on ground. And once we heard that they were leaving August 30th, our entire calculus changed, which turned into who's gonna, there's a dozen or so airports in Afghanistan. Surely somebody will be in charge. Who's the most likely candidate to be in charge? There's 4 or 5 of them. Who do we know that knows them? And let's go make some friends, knowing that on September 1st, this is going to be a fundamental different thing.
I know you have a great story of the Taliban flag. Just in Kabul. I'd love for my audience to hear that story, because it's really great, and raised a lot of money for Project Dynamo at the gala a few months ago.
Yeah, we're donor funded, so we got to do all kinds of crazy stuff to get people to help us out. The Taliban flag was I forgot what month it was. It was Slingshot 17 was the operation, but I don't remember what month it was. But we were deep in the war in Ukraine, so this is months and months after the fall of Kabul. Taliban are in charge. The Taliban are certainly not beacons of morality, certainly not. But whether we like it or not, they are the government of Afghanistan right now. And frankly, that's our doing. We ran away, and someone has to be the government. So, fact is derived from the United States. That's not the Taliban didn't tactically seize anything. We ran away, and they just moved in. The Taliban are currently inside the United States Embassy in Kabul as we speak right now. So we abandoned it, and they slid in. Very important thing. There was no fighting. They didn't seize the whole terrain or anything. We ran away, and they said, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. So we were deep in the war in Ukraine. I got to Ukraine January. Dynamo got boots on ground in Ukraine January 4th of 2022. The war didn't start until February 24th, 2022. So Dynamo was boots on ground 6, 7, 8 weeks almost before the first shot was even fired. We were busy in Ukraine doing fighting the Russians and rescuing Americans and doing all kinds of stuff, babies and jailbreaks and all kinds of stuff, buses. And an American family, a mother, three daughters, and two sons, were stuck in this place called Jalalabad. They've been left behind at that point for about a year. They were in hiding. The Taliban, of course, don't exactly respect women. So she's a unaccompanied female with three daughters who are marriage age, which is just a nice way of saying that they're above 12 years old, and two boys, two young kids. They're from Texas. And we were busy in Ukraine, really, really, really busy. It's a three-ring circus, and that war was kind of still very much dynamic. Now it's kind of stabilized, but these are early days. They're stuck in Jalalabad. We can get them out. They had tossed a lot of their documents. They were afraid of getting caught with American documents by the Taliban. That's a death sentence. We figured out a way to deal with that problem. And really all we needed was the Taliban to just kind of cooperate a little bit, right? And it really came down to, we're very small, and I didn't have the resources to go from Ukraine all the way back to Afghanistan. I didn't even have the right clothes with me. It's just a much different kind of thing. So we had tried to, through some back channels, get the Taliban to, give us a pass and let these six people, of the mother, the two sons, and the three daughters, to traverse from Jalalabad to Kabul, and that way we can get them on an airplane and get them out. The Taliban didn't want to cooperate with our folks, and basically said, in not so many words, basically they said no.
That's a shock. Yeah, that's a shock.
And honestly, sometimes they say yes and sometimes they say no. I mean, they operate in their own interest. So if you can demonstrate something that's in their interest, which is not money, bribing the Taliban does not work. I don't care what you need billions to do that, and we're donor funded. We don't have billions, so bribing people, we don't bribe people in general. We don't have the resources to do it. So, but we can create some leverage and those kinds of things. But it wasn't working. So Dynamo goes back from Ukraine all the way back to Afghanistan, and we grab these folks up, and we have a way to get into the Kabul airport kind of compound. Kabul airport's huge, like any other big airport. It's an international airport. We have a way to do that without going through the main way, just a little safer. We don't jump anything. It's just kind of we have the VIP entrance, so to speak. We were able to, there were some of these Taliban flags, the new Taliban flags, the new government, that were they were the replacement flags for the flags that go on the airport over the terminal. Right. And we stole a few of them. And after we get our people back and everything else, and we tell the Taliban we got them.
You use the word stole them or nicely took them?
Well, I didn't pay for them, I'll say that. Right. So whatever you want to call that.
And they're a good fundraiser.
They grew legs into my bag. That's what we'll say. Anyway, we were able to secure a bunch of these things, and they're huge. They're very big. Right. They go on top of an airport terminal. And we told it, we take a picture of it once we're in America with our people. And I tell they were very upset. So we show them, look what we got. And they got very angry and very upset. And I said, it's very simple, right? I can desecrate your flag and put it on YouTube, or you can work with me more next time. And in Afghanistan, honor and pride are very real concepts, unlike what we have in the West. Even in most parts of the Middle East, it's a much different thing. It's more like samurai or almost like a Japanese culture. So honor and pride and things like flags are a very big deal. So they got all upset, and I said, let this be a lesson to you. If you take my people, I will take your flag. And since then, we've done many operations since, and we've had no problems. That's a
great slogan. I think we should market that. We can sell a few more flags. Now I know you sold it at the gala for what, like $40,000, that flag?
$86,000.
$86,000, which is privately private funded. That's a great catch there, that flag. So, Afghanistan is great. But let's segue a little bit to I guess, Ukraine. I know you got somebody out from behind the jail at a jailbreak. I just saw a story that the U.S. State Department put charges on 4 people for kidnapping. Is that story?
Yeah, that's Operation Detroit Lions. It's a Department of Justice. So the Attorney General of the United States and the Director of the FBI and the Secretary of Homeland Security, for the first time in over 30 years, were able to leverage an indictment against foreigners for war crimes perpetrated against an American. For 30 years, this statute has been on the books. For 30 years, they've tried to make it happen. There's an entire war crimes task force at the Department of Justice. They've been there for 30 years. And in 30 years, they've never been able to get enough evidence to leverage to levy an indictment until our case. We've broken a number of Americans out of jail from the Russians. We're the only organization to ever go into Russia and steal Americans from Russian control. The CIA can't do it. They tried and they couldn't do it. But in this particular case, this is an American kid, 28 years old, 29 years old, from Detroit, Michigan, who was arrested on false charges, 11 counts of espionage, all fake, and a bunch of other fake charges. And he was beaten and tortured and all the terrible things that you would think Russia would do to him and his family. And he was held captive one way or the other for 37 days. And we took him. He was not released. So Brittany Griner, as an example, was negotiated. There was a trade that happened. Sadly, I don't have any prisoners to exchange. And sadly, I don't have $6 billion to spend. And sadly, I can't lift a sanction. So we have to do it the old-fashioned way and go and just take our people non-kinetically. It's not a raid the way you would think on TV. It's not that. It's more like a magic trick where it's more like Ocean's 11. When we get done with this stuff, you'll see the Russians like scratching their heads going, how did and to this day, they don't know how I did that case to this day. They have no clue. They have some ideas. None of those ideas are correct. And he's here in America. I guess
you're not going to spill the beans how you got that done.
It's a very, very, very long story. It was 37 days of a long story. So,
wow.
But what's fascinating about that case, it's the first, we call it Operation Detroit Lions. If you Google Project Dynamo Detroit Lions, it'll come right up. What's fascinating about that case is it's the first of so many things. It's the first time the kid was the first American victim of war crimes alive since World War II, right? The rescue was the first time a private organization has done a rescue like this, certainly, period, but especially against the Russian intelligence service, which is one of the best and most sinister and capable in the world, right? And we're here to tell, and we're still alive to talk about it, right? It's the first time where enough evidence was collected by us. We document everything we do. We take pictures and make videos and all these things. It's the first time this was ever documented like this. I've been doing this 25 years. Usually this stuff is so highly classified, you can't talk about any of it. We're private. I can tell anybody I want. So we don't spill the beans too much for operational security purposes. We have more operations to do. But the reality is we've got like 40 hours of video recorded on that operation. It's a crazy number, right?
That's a great documentary.
To the extent that we were able to share that information with the Department of Justice, and all that evidence is admissible, which has never been done before. And that's why they were able to to be able to bring this indictment forward and name 4 Russian bad guys by name who were part of the Russian forces who tortured an American. Wow. Never happened before in the history of these United States. That's never been able to be done before. So this case is a groundbreaking case on so many different levels. Further still, the Russians have no clue how we pulled it off.
Wow.
Not a clue.
That's great. Wow. Let's let me get the segue a little bit because getting Americans out from behind enemy lines. Now we know what's going on in Israel and in Gaza, and there are Americans being held in those tunnels. Unfortunately, are you at all in touch with them or with what's going on down there, or the State Department would just say this is not your business, get away?
Tough question. Are we working on hostages? Yes, we are. Are we working in Gaza? Yes, we are. Is the State Department telling us to get away? No, but we're also not telling them everything that we're doing either. Right. So remember that the State Department doesn't have a presence in Gaza. The right. U.S. government doesn't have a presence in Gaza. So truth be told, they actually don't have any control over anyone in Gaza, to include the Americans that are stuck there, to include the American hostages.
Right. I mean, are they in touch? Do you think they're in touch at all with the Hamas about them, or they're just letting it go?
I have no idea. It's a question for them. Right. I have no idea. I wouldn't know. I would hope that they are. I would hope, and that is the right answer. The State Department. The State Department has an office called SPIHA, the Special Presidential Envoy for Hostage Affairs. It's the single point, the single inject for all things hostages for the United States government, part of the State Department, reportable to the president. The SPIHA, the person who's the SPIHA, he has a whole staff, is a very good friend of mine named Roger Carson's, great guy, and he has a very tough job. He has a very, very, very tough job. He's responsible for all Americans who are unlawfully detained or held hostage in the world, from Paul Whelan in Russia to the hostages in Gaza and many, 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 many others. It's a very tough job. Are they in contact with Hamas? I have no idea. If they were, they wouldn't tell me, and nor should they. Nor should they. When people take hostages, I don't care if it's a criminal, a cartel, a lunatic who takes his wife hostage, Hamas, doesn't really matter. Hostages are utilitarian, meaning you take hostages because you want leverage because you don't have any, or you want more, right? That's the point. And the only real way to solve that problem is to take away that leverage somehow, or minimize it somehow where a deal can be made. But at the end of the day, any way you slice it, you wind up in this discussion of what's the price of a human life? That's what it comes down to, right? So is it worth $6 billion? I don't know. If you're one of the mommies of one of the hostages, you say absolutely, probably. 100%. Right? Absolutely. But then you have second and third order effects of that, where it's, oh, well, now we just set the market price for what an American costs. So now Americans globally, now it's a commodity market, right? So now
we know everyone's watching, and the price never comes down.
Correct. It only goes up. Part of what I would say is our challenge is that we as the United States are the leader of the free world, right? Forget about Israel for a moment, right? Forget, right? Let's say the hostages weren't in Gaza. Let's say they were in Yemen or Pakistan or anywhere else. The one of the things that we have the ability to do as the United States, as the leader of the free world, is to be able to demonstrate power. And that comes in two big forms, military and economic, right? Those are the two big ones. All the other stuff is nice. Diplomacy is based off meetings and coffee and press releases. Real power is not diplomacy. Real power is being able to be a diplomat and say, please be my friend, and I want to be your friend, and we need to work together and come to an understanding. But understand, if you don't want to be my friend and we can't come to an understanding, I have an aircraft carrier with more firepower than any other country on earth parked 12 miles off your beach. I don't want to kill you and you don't want to be dead. Don't make me be a bad guy. And when those tactics happen, very often terrorists will test the resolve of that diplomacy. And that's exactly what we're doing. The mistake that we're making, however, is we're not matching that with resolve. And that is precisely why we are in this mess, I would argue.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that we should go to war with everyone, but people have to know that you're a credible threat, or diplomacy won't work.
Right.
Then you're just another guy sending press releases.
We need consequences, which I think we're lacking, on the part of the American government today. That's a different story.
It's a choice. There are choices that are made with bigger issues, and Dynamo's not we're not political, right? The President of the United States and the executive branch and the legislative branch, they make these decisions, and that's okay. And those are policy decisions, which is fine. But those decisions have consequences. One of those consequences one of those is sometimes hostages happen. These kinds of circumstances happen, which are derived from policy decisions, and again, this is where it gets what's more important, right? What's more important? Gas prices going down for the whole country, or going to war with the whole Middle East over nine people? Now, as a professional rescue organization, I say, let's figure out gas, but let's go rescue our people. But that's because I'm in the rescue world.
Right.
If you're in the gas world, or if you're the oil and energy sector, or you're in the political sector, and we're in an election year, and people are very upset, and there's protests and all kinds of things. These are very tough decisions, which is why being the president of the United States is a very hard job. Doesn't matter who's in the seat; they all age, right? So
we're not going to go there, right?
It's wrong to say, how dare you, President Biden, and shake our hand, or how dare you, this president or that president, how dare you? These are big monster decisions that Solomon himself would be.
Literally hundreds of things going on at the same time, politically, which, you hit one grenade, the other one will explode, the other behind you. So it's really tough to make those decisions. I know we're all pressed for time, so I just want to move a little bit to, I got introduced to you, Bryan, with the BATTARIX, with the power card, and obviously you saw the use for it, and, I just want, the story about Israel and what's going on there now, happened over our holiday. And I think the audience would like to know, a little bit how, I literally got on my phone the second the holiday was over, and I said, I got to call Bryan. I got friends over in Israel for the holiday. I called Bryan. I say, Bryan, I got friends in Israel. Like, what are we doing? He says, Sam, I'm on the runway. I'm wheels up in 20 minutes. Everyone, projectdynamo.org, sign them up, put Wexler in the comment box. We'll get them out. Talk to you later. 3 days later, when you land, we had a whole manifest of people calling me up saying, Sam, I heard you got a plane. Wow, what's going on? And we got a plane. And then, it comes down to we're donor funded. We got to get funded, right? The bottom line is with Bryan, with you, I guess, right? Because we need money to wheels up. And we get on the call with all, a bunch of Jewish people. And they said, how are we going? I said, people, we got a plane. We need money. Either we're going to get money or we're going to stay right where we are. And the bottom line is we got funded, whatever the state of Florida came in, we got them up, and thank God, I was, you can say I had a little part in it, not much. It was all came down to Project Dynamo. As you said, you're donor funded, and we need people to fund you to continue these missions, right? So whoever's watching this, projectdynamo.org, you go right now and you donate. We get Bryan to the next mission. But Bryan, what keeps you going day to day? We wake up in the morning. Do you still have that drive from the first day?
Yeah. We're busier than we've ever been. Sadly, we have more operations. We have more requests for help than we can fund. One of our biggest challenges is our monthly donations. So we get a lot of one-time donations, which are great, and we're appreciative, and we need that. But it's incredibly hard to plan. So I would rather somebody give me $15 a month than $100 once, so monthly donations is what's really preventing us from really getting after some of these harder problems, especially when we say things like China and Taiwan, we say things like Gaza. Remember October 7th? That is not a one-time deal. This is just the beginning. We're 70 days into this war. America was at war after 9/11 for 20 years. Okay, 70 days, 71 days is nothing. Just getting started. Hamas.
And it's frightening just to think about that.
Hamas, and by extension, Iran are fully excited for this next jihad. Fully excited. Israel's numero uno on the list. America is numero dos on the list. There's a reason why they took American hostages. The reason why. So we're gearing up for the next phase of whatever this thing is. U.S. government and U.S. military are trying to react, but they're like any big ship, they're slow to correct. They're slow to correct. When the National Defense Strategy was written in 2022, it was never considered that Russia would cross the border into Ukraine. At our gala, which was November, we started planning in August of 2023. Israel was one of our giveaway trips. Who knew that as we were planning our gala and one of our auction things was a 5-day trip to Israel, that the day before the gala, I'd be coming home from Israel doing an operation.
That's
right?
crazy.
When you say it like that, so my point is the world is scary, getting scarier, will not get better anytime soon. I don't care who wins the presidential election. It doesn't matter at this moment. This is a 6, 7, 8 year long problem. We're 2 terms away from stability, at least, if we're nice about it. The best thing that could happen is aliens come from Mars and unite everybody.
Right.
But for that, we're going to be unstable as a planet for a long time. So
right.
Dynamo fills that void. When Americans and our friends are in trouble, we pack our stuff and we go. The only reason why our planes worked was because my team and I went to Israel. We flew to Israel and got it all organized and got everyone together. Every single person that we rescued, we have actually met. So how can people help and why should they help? I cannot tell you how many people who we've rescued where their families have said, I saw you on TV and I never thought I'd be calling you.
Right.
Hundreds of them. Hundreds of them.
Right, sure. I mean, when we were going through the whole process and people kept calling me, Sam, is this guy for real? I said, he's for real, but you got to fund him, right? And I literally I was sitting here in my office one day after we landed that plane. A week later, a guy comes in, knocks on the door. I look at him and said, who are you? He says, I was on that plane thanks to you. He gives me this big hug. And he says, if it wouldn't be for schlamazels like me, like everyone else got out except for guys like me. I had no idea how to get out, and thanks to you, we got out, and they gave me a nice charger when I landed and $100. So it was all good.
But we need funding because right. we have requirements. We've got, I could do 3-4 operations a day for the rest of the year and still have operations that we can't fund. It is crazy. Actually, as I'm sitting here right now, we just got an email for an American stuck on the other side of the border as I'm talking to you right now.
Wow, that's crazy stuff.
So, people are begging us for help. The government doesn't help us. They don't even give me the Department of Justice for the first time in 31 years leveraged this indictment. Hundreds of people are part of the war crimes task force at the Department of Justice, right? For years and years, it's a whole building in Virginia, right? It's a whole thing, right? They didn't even give us a thank you note.
That's what I'm going to say. I didn't even see your name anywhere. Yeah, it's like
nothing.
Yeah, these guys are unbelievable.
So we are the FBI and we're the Department of Justice, and we are proud to say we brought this indictment. You're welcome. You're welcome.
We need the Maccabees again. This was the Hanukkah story all over. We need the Maccabees. We need to go in with spears and get everyone out, and that's it.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And I just want to, I mean, it's time to go.
That's Dynamo. That's Dynamo.
Dynamo. That's what we are. And you're great. I just want to wrap it up. I know we were introduced to you. Like I said, Heather, showed you the card, and right away it hit you. You had that moment, like I had that moment. This thing is great, and we branded it for the gala, and it came out really, really super. And we gave them away.
I think I got my other box. I got them right here.
Right, and I got my right here. We got the gala. Red, white, and rescued. Right, we got them.
Red, white, and rescued. That's us.
That's it. So we went to the gala and it was great. I just maybe just expand a little bit what you see in the BATTARIX, how it'll help your mission, and just people around the world when they need it.
Yeah, I mean, Dynamo is a response to emergency and crisis, right? Nobody wakes up and says, "I hope to be rescued," right? No, nobody ever wakes up and says, "I hope my cell phone is dead."
Right.
It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
And I mean, people would rather be dead than have their cell phone dead, to be honest.
You know what I mean? Like, take my eyes, but not my phone, right? So BATTARIX as a product is that emergency response to power. It's the same thing. So when my cell phone is dying and I go, oh man, look, what am I going to do? I got 3 phones. I'm busy. What am I going to, where's there a charger? Oh, Iron Dome is activating and shooting missiles. We got to go to the bomb shelter, but in the middle of a call trying to do something. And my phone is on like 2%.
Yeah.
I go into my wallet, which is amazing. And I pull, right, because it's so small.
Yeah.
And I pull out my credit card size BATTARIX pack. And I plug my phone in, and we've got all these pictures of me with a BATTARIX thing hanging from my ear. It looks like I'm wearing an earring, right? Is what it looks like, right? And it really saves the day. I mean, it really does. I've used them at, I don't know, 50, 60, 70 times. I mean, I'm running low. We gotta
get you a new package.
I got boxes of them as spares. You know?
I gotta get you more. That's the bottom line. Yeah.
So BATTARIX is what Dynamo is to rescues, BATTARIX is to power, right?
Right. Well, thank you again, Bryan, for your time. It was really, really great. And I'd like to thank all the audience out there for listening to this episode. Remember to get your BATTARIX backup battery today at battarix.com. Make sure to subscribe for more episodes.